Yeah, at some point in the third quarter, I sent out a tweet. Ohio State, 6 points, no touchdowns. Sermon was at 10 rushes for $150, and Teague was at like 2 for 23. So they had a combined 12 for 173. How is this possible?
Terrible red zoning. Just terrible red zoning. They were so bad inside the 30-yard line. Now, some people consider red zone 20. I think a couple of those first half possessions where they settled, I don't know that they ever made it to the 20-yard line, but scoring position nonetheless, inside the 30 on each of these, 4 trips inside the 30, and they came away with 6 points, I think, out of that in the first half, I think, because they threw the red zone interception on one of the last plays of the half. And they'd gone for it on fourth down and didn't get it, I think, down there. So, and 2 field goals. So, yeah, it was UGLY. A lot of side to side, but not enough north and south, it didn't seem like.
I mean, you had the Harry Miller hold that took the touchdown off of there, and then that drive ended they had to go for the field goal because on third down, Fields got sacked and nearly knocked him out of field goal range at that point. Just a lot of that kind of stuff that happened there where, we're not back in the days of where there were, 10 false starts in this game, but, there were a lot of self-inflicted wounds and, a lot of it too, though, you have to put on the credit of Northwestern and the Mike Hankwitz defense. And, Northwestern had probably the best look of linebackers that Ohio State potentially could face. I mean, honestly, you give me Fisher, Bergen, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Gallagher.
Yep.
Yeah, you give me those 3. Those guys, they're not going to sit there and absolutely flash, but they bring it every play and they don't screw up.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's first 6 scoring opportunities netted them 9 points, and so that's no good, and is even worse than they did against Clemson last year. And we'll obviously have to do better than that. Do better than they did against Clemson last year in the red zone. You can't settle for field goals. Got to punch it in there, and that's something that you would think that they would be good at with Justin Fields being able to run and throw. It's something they'll have to get better at in this game, or else, good luck.
Yeah, 6 opportunities. Let's say you come up empty once, you score 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, you're at 27 points. That's pretty reasonable. A dog named Brutus. I don't know that we necessarily need to go around Robin on all these questions, but whoever wants to pick this one up, he's just basically asking the question about during the BCS era of 98 through 2013, was there more parity in college football?
I don't know if there's more parity. I think the top 6 teams just they fluctuate, and Tennessee was in there, and now they're not. They've been replaced by Clemson. It just I don't know what's the largest group of championship caliber teams there are per year. Does it stay roughly like 6,
5, 6
every year?
But I think that's the point, Tony. It's not rotating.
But like Clemson comes in and Florida State goes out, or Tennessee goes out and Ohio State comes in.
It used to be the SEC East, and now it's the SEC West, although Georgia, I guess, did make a championship game. But
I don't know that we've seen 6 years like the last 6 years, where if we polled everyone here in August and said who's going to make the playoffs, 80% of the people would have said Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and then the other would have been somebody else.
There's a little less fluctuation, I think, but I don't think any of us would have put Texas A&M as being a team that was in there in the mix or anything else like that. I think it's pretty similar, but it comes down to that you kind of have. I think your dynasties are a little bit more defined right now. I mean, just put Alabama, just put Clemson, just put Ohio State in there. Notre Dame seems to be, every, a good couple of years and maybe meh. It's, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that we've seen drastic changes whatsoever. I think it's become much more regionalized in terms of, do any of us ever think that there's anybody from west of the Rockies that's going to be significant? Because I don't.
No.
I think also, Mark, during the BCS era, it's just 2 teams vying for the championship, and if you take those two teams and it just fluctuates between four teams, then there's variety. When it's the same four teams and a four team, there's less variety, even though there are more teams. And so if you take, 1 year it's LSU and Clemson, the next year it's Alabama and Clemson, the next year it's Ohio State and Alabama, that seems different because it's just two teams pulling from a pool of 5 or 6, whereas now it's a pool of 4 teams pulling from a pool of 5 or 6. And it just all looks very familiar because we've seen all of these teams before.
If we went back to the 80s and we took a 6-year stretch, can you imagine and considered national championship contention to be with 2 weeks left, you've got a loss. You are in the mix to get to a national championship type situation. Of course, there wasn't a game, but the likes of Iowa, Illinois, Georgia Tech, Colorado being legitimately in national championship races now.
But Iowa was in that situation in 2015. If they beat Michigan State, they're going. They were both undefeated.
But it seems like they did.
Iowa had maybe one loss. But
they were undefeated. Yep.
The chasm between the haves and the have-nots are getting bigger, though, and it's going to get harder for people to crash the party. I mean, you're going to have that generational type of player to be able to throw the team on his shoulders and carry them across the finish line, because you sit there and you look at your top 6 teams in terms of recruiting, and that's not really changing from year to year. And we know that it's the Jimmy and the Joes means so much in this type of situation. So it's going to be a lot harder, and I think it's just going to be a situation that it's going to take, I don't know, it's going to take a sudden resignation, a scandal, or something at one of these programs for them to really fall out.
And I see talk where these teams would need a Zach Wilson, or not an NFL type top pick quarterback like a Zach Wilson, but of course BYU has lost, and I don't know that they would have been in the top 4 had they been undefeated anyway. And we know from the UCF stuff and the Boise State stuff where you're supposed to put it together 2 years in a row, and that way you can get a better footing in the second year. And this committee I find it very hard to believe that they would have put Cincinnati in at 13-0 with everybody else being where they were, and it's unfortunate. And I guess the type of quarterback or type of players, you need so much hype. You need to end up the season having won your bowl game by beating somebody that maybe you shouldn't have. So maybe Cincinnati can get that with the Georgia win and then go undefeated next year, and maybe they can get it. But it's just unfortunate that to make it 1 year, you have to be perfect 2 years, and that's the case for nobody else other than the group of 5 teams.